Hey guys, Kory here with GillzGoneWild.com. We're in the garage here where the boat's kept, and we're getting ready. We're going to go to Table Rock tomorrow morning, so we're in here, moving some tackle in and out of the boat and getting some baits tied on and some stuff rigged up, and in the process of putting some tackle in the boat, I run across this bait right here, and it struck me as a pretty good opportunity to do a little tips video for you guys on fishing topwater frogs. This right here is the Spro bronze-eye shad. What I'm going to show you will apply to the bronze-eye frog. It'll apply to the booyah pad crasher, the sexy frog, basically any of these hollow body rubbered topwater frogs. And the reason that this is going to be I think a key player for tomorrow is we're going to be dodging some thunderstorms and showers, and so the fish are on beds, and we're going to try to put together some sight fishing videos for you guys. But there's a really good possibility that at least part of the day is going to be in a situation where we're not going to be able to look at the fish and bed fish, but I still want to be able to fish for these spawning fish, and a great way to do that in the spring is with the topwater bait. Now there's a couple different schools of thought on this. A lot of guys like a prop bait like a devil's horse or any of those prop baits like that, the old school wood choppers and stuff, and those are fine, and a lot of times those will get you a lot of bites. But I've also found that a topwater frog, whether it's a popping frog or this right here, the bronze-eye shad's made to glide, a lot of times that's a little bit more subtle approach, and especially in this more clear water like what we're going to be dealing with at Table Rock, that can be a key difference between getting a lot of bites and not getting a lot of bites. So what I want to show you is the modifications I make to a topwater frog right out of the package before it ever gets put in the box in the boat. So as you can tell, this is a brand new frog, and when you open it up, there's a lot of guys that will take this frog just as it is and fish it, and you'll certainly get a lot of bites doing that, and you'll still catch a lot of fish. But the problems that are kind of inherent with fishing a topwater frog is lost fish or missing fish. And it's just because of the nature of the beast with these frogs. These frogs are made to be extremely weedless, and because of that, they can also be kind of fishless. And what I mean is, the way that they got the baits designed around the hooks to where you can get through the slop, and whether you're fishing vegetation or standing brush or whatever, that also makes it difficult to get a good hookup. And there's a few tweaks that you can make right out of the package that's going to make it a lot easier to actually stick a fish rather than have them boil on it and you set the hook and miss them. And the first thing I'm going to do, take 2 pairs of needle nose pliers and just pinch the plastic. Pinch it in opposite sides and just stretch. All I'm doing is stretching this plastic out a little bit. It's still going to retain its shape. It's still going to go back to the same body shape that it was before. But what you do when you're stretching this plastic is you're actually softening it up. And there's no way to show you guys in the video. You're going to have to take my word for it. But this plastic is a lot softer now than it was right out of the package. And what that's going to do, obviously, when a fish blows up on it, it's going to be a lot easier for that fish to get that plastic to collapse out of the way of the hooks. Another thing is take your pair of pliers here. As you can tell by looking, the hooks on this frog lay just below the back. They're just out of the way a little. I mean, you drag your finger over it, and you're not going to stick your finger very much. It's like I said, the point's down just a little bit below the back of the frog. So what I'm going to do is take my pliers. I'm going to open that up just slightly, not much. I don't want to open it up enough that I'm going to have problems with it getting hung up. But I open it up enough now that angle is getting the point of the hook up just above the back of the frog. So instead of the hook coming up and turning and running almost downward, now the point of the hook is coming up and turning, and it's kind of laying just up a little bit. And now, as you can tell, when I drag my finger across the frog, it's just barely getting the skin of my finger, but it's not enough that it's going to cause it much trouble with getting hung up and stuff like that. One more little tip to share with you guys is we always want these. You want these frogs, whether it's the bronze-eye shad like this one, which is made to glide and walk the dog, or whether it's the popping frog or any of them, you want to be able to get that frog to kind of walk, and that side-to-side action is a key in getting a lot of bites. And the thing is, a lot of guys will come and they'll fish these frogs, and they're twitching their rod tip, and that frog's actually giving you this action instead of this action. And when you get these frogs set up right and they're paired right with the right rod and reel and line combo, you can get these frogs to cover a lot of real estate without ever really moving forward too much. And what I mean by that, you can get that frog to dance side to side and do a lot of moving, but keep it over the bed of that fish. And even when you're not specifically looking at the bed, when you do that and you get that frog, and you're up there paralleling the bank, and you get that frog zigzagging back and forth, you're going to come across beds. And when you do, that frog's going to spend a lot more time in that fish's strike zone, and is going to do a lot better job at irritating that fish and getting it to go ahead and commit and bite. So in order to get that frog to really dance back and forth, there's a few things you can do. The first thing you want to do is trim the legs of the frog. Now, as you can see here, as I pull the legs up on this bronzeye shad, they're already short. And I know that because the bronzeye frog, when you take it out of the package, these legs, when you bring the legs up like this, the ends of the rubber on the legs will be up in this area. It'll be that much longer than the line tie, on the front of the bait. What you want to do is, if your frog has these rubber legs, and when you bring the rubber leg up towards the nose of the bait, if the leg comes up past the eyelet where you tie your line, you want to trim them back down. You want to trim them down to right about where you see it there, even with the eyelet on the front of the bait. And what that's going to do is, when you take that little extra rubber off the legs, it's really going to let that bait do its job and walk back and forth really, really well. A few other key components to the whole system here would be your rod. Obviously, you want a rod. It's a frog. Okay, so you want a rod that's got some backbone, because we're throwing these frogs in some nasty places a lot of times. So yes, you want a rod that's got some backbone to it and is fairly stiff through the butt section to the mid part of the rod. But you want something that's got a little bit of a tip to it. You don't want something that's like a broomstick. And you want the tip of that rod to give as you're bouncing your rod tip, and a little bit softer tip is going to really get that bait to where it's wanting to walk back and forth. And one final thing, or two final things I guess, that I should share is, I think it pretty much goes without saying anymore, but you want to fish these things on braid. There's just no other line out there that is gonna give you the action and give you the strength and power that braid's gonna give, and you need all of that on these frogs. Clear water or not, it doesn't matter. When I'm fishing a frog, it's gonna be on braid, and if I can't fish it on braid, I'm just not gonna fish it. And the reason is because of lack of stretch with braid. These baits, as I mentioned, are kind of notorious for having some trouble with hookup ratios. Now, we just corrected a lot of that, but still, even after doing these modifications, that problem's still gonna be there somewhat. So you need all the strength you can get in your line. You need something that has no stretch, and it's really going to help you do your job and get a good hook set. The other reason that you want braid is because of, obviously the extra strength with the braid. But the other reason you want braid is because it really helps get these baits to walk back and forth. Again, the braid's a high floater, meaning it's not, fluorocarbon sinks. Monofilament doesn't really sink, but monofilament has all that stretch. So you're not going to get a good hook set with monofilament, and braid's got less stretch and it floats probably better than monofilament, so you're going to get better action out of your bait. So braid's going to give you a better hookup ratio, more strength and abrasion resistance if you're fishing around docks or brush or whatever, and if you're fishing around vegetation and grass, we all know how braid cuts through that stuff, so that's important as well. And I said braid's also going to give you better action out of the bait. So in my opinion, there's no room for negotiation on that. It's going to be braid or I'm not going to fish it. And I don't say that about a lot of stuff. I'm not a huge fan of fishing braid. As a matter of fact, braid's my least favorite line to fish, but when you have to have it, you just have to have it. And this is a situation where you've got to have it. So the one more thing that I'll tell you is, and we'll do a video on this later on, you guys will be able to look it up and see it, but tie a quality loop knot with these frogs. And there's several different variations of loop knots out there. I'll do a video and show you the one that I tie. It's real simple, it's easy to do, but that loop knot is going to give you more action out of these baits again, and it's going to make it a lot easier to get these baits to walk. So anyways, that's a long-winded approach to showing you guys how I kind of trick out and modify my frogs right out of the package before I ever put them up in the boat. And hope you guys found some useful tips out of it. And if you guys have any more ideas, tips, anything you guys want to see, shoot us an email. And in the meantime, for more product reviews, how-to videos, everything else that we can think of, I guess, check us out at GillzGoneWild.com. Thanks.